We can use the setFieldBehavior command to dynamically set or modify the value in an input field on your form. This is one of the more commonly used commands, so it's worth having a look at how it works. We also have to be aware that there is normally more than one way to do something in PerfectForms, and we often need to consider which might be the best way. There's no right or wrong answer in many cases, as it normally depends on other things happening in your form. In this example, we have a reference field on the second page of the form. We want to generate the reference, which will be a combination of data from different fields on this first page. Let's just say that we want it to be the employee name and the ID, followed by the claim month and year. Note that in the month drop-down properties, you will see that the value of the drop-down is an abbreviated version of the month name. So we know what fields we will use to grab the reference data from, and we know the field where the reference will be captured. But we also need to consider how to trigger the behavior. There are a few ways that spring to mind. First of all, we can trigger the behavior when any changes are made to the fields that make up the reference. That would work perfectly okay, but as the reference is made up from 4 different fields, the logic would have to be triggered from each of those fields. This type of behavior would normally be required if the target field was on the same page, which is not the case in this example. So alternatively, we could trigger the behavior on the button that opens the claims page. Once again, perfectly okay, but that behavior would be triggered every time the button is pressed, even when an approver is accessing the form. We could also trigger the behavior when the second page is opened, but that's virtually the same thing as using the next page button. There will no doubt be other options too, but let's use the claims button is pressed event. The setField command is the one we want to use, followed by a show page command that will open the claims page after. You would normally precede this with a check mandatory command, but that's covered in a different tutorial video. In the setField command properties, there are 2 things to do. First of all, we have to select the target field where we are setting the reference. Then we define the value that we want to set in that field. As it will be a combination of data from different fields, we do have to use the formula option. We have covered the formula condition editor in a separate tutorial video, so here's another look at that. In this case, we have 4 elements, but do remember to put the suitable separator objects in between to make it more user-friendly. That's the name and the ID. Next, we need to add in the month and year. Remembering that it's the value of the month we need, because that's the abbreviated version. The default setting for the show page command is good, so nothing to change there. And that's all we need to do for this example of the setField command. Do remember, of course, to test your logic using the preview option.